Assumptions are part of our life. In today's class, I'll be discussing something about what assumptions are, how to deal with them, and do you have any examples from the scriptures, and what do we learn from those examples, and what does Gita teach us how to deal with those assumptions, and how to apply Gita teachings to our life to overcome these assumptions. So let us begin this class with, this is the topic, assumptions ahead, reassess. We have to reassess them whenever we come across some assumptions in our life. Let us begin this class with Mangalacharan. Let's sing it together. Let's sing it together. Om Ajnana Tasya Jnana Jana Shalakaya Chacharunulitam Vaina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Kalamayam Tadate Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Gita Padakamalam Sri Guru Vaishnavamsha Sri Rupam Sagajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Siddham Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Rita Sri Visatam Visamsam He Krishna Sharna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Okesha Shukra Kanta Radha Kanta Namaskate Sapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Shubhodana Sukeri Devi Pranamamani Hari Priye Panchaskalpa Tarupasya Kanvevacha Paditanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnaveshyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Nivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So what is definition of assumptions? We all have our own definition of assumptions, but the dictionary definition of assumption is a willingness to accept something as true without question or proof. And another definition of assumption from the dictionary is a thing that is accepted as certain to happen without proof. So do you all agree with this definition to assumption?
I assume this is correct.
Yeah. So is it wrong? I mean, are they wrong? I mean, having assumptions, is it wrong? Are they normal? They're pretty much normal in our daily life. They're part of our rhythms of our daily life. Every day, whatever we plan, even to go to work, to go to satsang, to go anywhere, even for shopping, to anything, we make some assumptions. So if I do this, I can achieve this. Anything like it. It's kind of their daily rhythms that are inherited in us, they're embedded in us. So they help us in fundamental, their fundamental role is planning and arrangements to make things happen. We assume it, we all assume that. Are they normal? Yes, they are normal. Are they good or bad? That's one interesting thing we need to know. They're like both sides of a coin. Sometimes they are good, sometimes they are bad. But they are, as I said, that they are not really that bad. They are mental shortcuts necessary for efficiency in the sense like how to plan the things ahead and then try to execute based on our plans. They make us sometimes being efficient in planning and getting things done. Sometimes they might become hurdles. When you think that they are going to be hurdles, we have to reassess them and we have to refine them to make the things happen. So we have to question them sometimes. So by questioning our assumptions, seeking evidence. I said that there is no evidence for that. So we have to seek evidence on what basis we are making these assumptions. Especially in the area of research where I'm working at, we make assumptions how this is going to work. And I need to look for some literature for that, evidence. Okay, this is my plan. Is it going to work based on this? Is there any supporting evidence for that? If there is no evidence, maybe I have to be ready to correct myself and based on the literature and move forward. If we do that, then our blind guess will become informed insights. So we have to reassess them sometimes, not all the time. But do they influence us? Do they have influence in our daily lives? What do they do? Do they have any influence in our lives, in our decisions that we make it? Yes, they do. So they influence our decisions. What are the decisions we make based on the assumption that we made? It could be bad, it could be good. Maybe we might move forward, we might stop, we might not want to move forward with that. So they influence our decisions and also they influence our actions. They have influence on us. And finally, we should strive to ensure that they align with the reality. If they are not aligned with the reality, we have to reassess them. And then the power of assumptions. They have the power. They are like invisible architects. They are like invisible architects of our thoughts. We don't really see them. They are so subtle. The subtle things are really more powerful than the gross things that we all know that. And then they quietly shape how we interpret the world. Maybe our surroundings, maybe our friends, our environment, everything. Based on assumptions we develop, we interpret the things and surroundings around us. Whether it is assuming someone's intentions, predicting an outcome, or filling in gaps of our knowledge, assumptions help us navigate complexity and make decisions. The role of assumption, that is the power of assumptions. At the same time, there are some setbacks too. The setbacks is it comes to some cost. And when assumptions go unexamined, they can distort reality. Probably you're away from reality, you are in your illusion, or in your own Valhalla land. And misjudge others. Sometimes there's a chance to misjudge others based on assumptions. Overlook opportunities. Maybe there are some opportunities because of assumption that we don't have clarity on that one. There is chance for us to overlook those opportunities and can breed misunderstanding. That is one of the disadvantages of assumptions. It can rupture our relationships. Maybe it could be anything, maybe family relations, friendship relations, political relations, business relations. They can breed misunderstanding because of these assumptions. So what we need to do? The things about assumptions is there is no guaranteed outcome. If you assume something, there is nothing that we are going to get something out of it. At the same time, we make assumptions when planning. So the issue here is that about the particular assumption itself that you are going to make, not the assumption, the particular assumption, is it going to happen or not? That is really, really important. Sometimes we make a wild guess, probably we know that it is not going to happen, but still we take chance opportunity, okay, likely to happen. So the problem here is about the particular assumption that we are assuming. That is the problem. And then the important factor here is how we come to conclusions based on these assumptions. Yes, we have assumption, we made it, or we are arriving into a conclusion that is close to reality. If not, we have to revisit or reassess those assumptions. In case of it's common either in material life or in spiritual life. In material life, we go to consultants for all those things. So this is our plan, how to move forward with this, it makes sense or not. When it comes to spiritual assumptions, we go to our Sisha Guru or Disha Guru, or whoever is available to us, maybe God brothers, maybe temple presidents, whoever is available to us, we go to them to clarify those assumptions and to move forward. And how to inquire. That is the most important thing, as Gita says. Krishna says in Gita, when you are approaching someone, a higher authority for assumptions, our approach should be how it should be. He may be a great authority, he may be a great personality, if there is no humbleness in our inquiries, whatever advice he gives to us, action he gives to us, is not going to impact us at all. So Krishna says in Gita chapter 4:34, says, Tadvide panipratena pariprashnena sevaya upadesandite jnanam dhyana tattvadarshinaha. When you have this kind of assumption, some clarity if you need it, we have to approach the spiritual master, especially for our spiritual life. How to inquire with them, how to inquire with them submissively and render service unto them. They are the self-realized souls and they can impart knowledge unto us because they have seen the truth. Here the importance here is Krishna used the word Tattva Darshana, he did not say Tattva Veda. Tattva Veda is the one like the philosophical speculations and all those things. The person who speculates something, he cannot really say. And the person who has seen it can say it's better than the one who has not really seen it. That's very clear. Even regular things like daily activities, again, we have seen a movie. The person who has seen a movie explains that in a better way than the one who has not seen it. So all the acharyas, they are the tattva-darshis, they have seen the real truth, so they can explain it in a better way than anyone else who has not seen it. They are not ordinary personalities. So that approach them with humbleness. When we approach them with humility and humbleness, sometimes they may respond to our question, sometimes they may not respond to our question. It doesn't mean that they don't want to answer us. They have a different plan for us. It means that we may not be in a position to receive the answer to that. So we have to wait until we hear from them. It doesn't mean that, okay, I asked a question to my spiritual master, and my spiritual master didn't respond to me, I'm done with it. No, it's not that. Krishna says, once you ask them, until you hear from them, you should be doing service. That's what we should be doing it. Then whenever the right time for us, the spiritual master answers the questions depending upon the situation. For example, if we take Parikshit Maharaj, when he was in trouble, he approached Sukadeva Goswami, immediately responded to his question. Not to let the delay, depending upon the situations, they answer all the questions to us. And then examples from Bhagavad Gita. When do we approach a person? We approach someone who is better than us, especially when you are in distress. We seek some guidance from them. In Bhagavad Gita, we come across 3 different personalities who are in distress. Any idea who those 3 are?
One who is in distress?
Yeah, the 3 personalities, they are in distress. They approach 3 great personalities.
Like one who is in distress, like they.
Yeah, in distress, like they are worried about the outcome of the world. It's Dhritarashtra.
Acha, you are talking about actual names of persons. So Dhritarashtra
Yeah.
Okay.
is there, Arjuna is there also.
Yeah.
Duryodhana also
Yeah.
is there.
Yeah, these 3 are the great personalities. They are in distress. And the main reason for the distress is all are worried about the outcome of the war. Their expectations are different. When they are there, they approach 3 great personalities. For example, if you take Dhritarashtra, when he was in distress, when he was worried about the outcome of the war, he approached Sanjaya. What is happening in the battle? He wanted to hear from him. Same is the case with Duryodhana, but he didn't, Dhritarashtra heard from Sanjaya his decisions, what he took, how did he come to conclusion, we discussed this. In the case of Duryodhana, he also approached a teacher. But he didn't even listen, he didn't even ask for it, he just instructed his teacher. And Arjuna, he approached Krishna, we all know that what is the outcome. Let us discuss these 3 characters and what did they hear, what were their assumptions, what was their decisions, how did they come to conclusion. If we come to this, Prabhupada calls it doubts, and he didn't say assumptions. There was a doubt, when I was searching this title for this presentation, I wrote articles also on this, I asked Acharyas, like Prabhupada did not say these are assumptions, these are doubts. Can I use this term as assumption, because it's something like it's not given in scriptures. Okay, it means that like some Acharya say that like it's fine, you can use that term, that's why I use assumptions. And I wrote 2 articles on this. I share that later. When it comes to Dhritarashtra, he has got some inner motives. In the Bhagavad Gita begins, we learn that Dhritarashtra was skeptical about his son's eventual success in the battle of Kurukshetra. Do you all agree?
Yes.
He was very skeptical. When he is skeptical, when he is certain of his victory in that one, why did he move forward? There was assumption for that. Something is going to happen. Probably like, something like, always when you are about to lose the battle, still we have some hope that like, okay, this might turn positive, let us say, in cricket, like if you have like 1 ball to go, 10 runs to make it to win. It's almost impossible to do that, but we hope that like probably it becomes a no ball, goes to the boundary, and the batsman is 6. It did not happen in history, I don't think so, but something like we make assumptions like that to move forward. And then he assumed that the warriors on his side, Bhishma and Drona, he has the great warriors on his side. That is his strength. And they are not being conquered by Arjuna. That was his one of assumption that like probably Arjuna cannot defeat them. These 2 can defeat Arjuna and we are going to win the war. And the other thing was that like an influence of the battleground. This battle is happening on the field Kurukshetra, Dharmakshetra, Kurukshetra, that's what he says in the beginning of Gita. So he is trusting more on the influence of the field, that like it is a pious field, it might influence the Pandavas' pious nature and they might withdraw from the battleground. They don't want to, okay, we are already in forest for 11 years in exile, how long we are going to rule the kingdom? Probably they rule after the battle for 30 to 35 years. There was no need to do this kind of massacre to rule the kingdom for 30 to 35 years. We are anyway used to this exile life. Let us quit the battleground and then go to the exile or something like that. So these are all the assumptions that he made up, that these things made him to move forward to the battle. One thing is, he is skeptical, but he is based on the strength of Bhishma and Drona and also on the influence of the battleground. And then he approached Sanjaya for that. And we all know that he asked Sanjaya what is happening on the battleground, and we come to this. Sanjaya explains what is happening and also the signs of the victories for Pandava's side. One thing is here that like the conscience that they have it. We know that like Krishna is Panchajanya and all five conscience. It's a total of 6. The significance of listing those conscience is that like the people who have those conflicts, they survived at the end of the battle. None of them survived. And second thing they say the Hanuman flag is on Arjuna's chariot. There is a reason why did Hanuman appear on the flag of Arjuna's chariot. They express all the things, and the most important one is the Supreme Lord is on the side of Pandavas, so they are going to win the battle. He clearly says that, but still, like after that, he explains in Gita saying that, like Krishna says in Gita 11:13, Bhishmancha Dronancha Jayadrathancha. I mean, like he's mainly his strength. I mean, Dhritarashtra's confidence was on the strength of Bhishma and Drona, but here Krishna saying that, like they already destroyed by me. He heard that Krishna saying that, like I already destroyed them, but he did not take a decision. He did not reassess his decision, his assumption. And Jayadrath is listed here. He is not a great warrior compared to Bhishma, Drona and Karna, but he is listed here. Why did Krishna mention his name also?
Because he had a benediction.
Yeah, from Lord Shiva. Yeah. So Jayadratha is none other than the brother-in-law of Duryodhana. He married his sister Dusala. And one time, like when Pandavas were in the forest, he molested Draupadi. And then like he was defeated by Bhima and Arjuna, and they insulted him. As a revenge, he approached Lord Shiva. And he wanted a boon from him that, like, I want a boon to defeat Pandavas. He said, no, I cannot give that to you, but I give a kind of option to you that we can defeat them one day in a war, excluding Arjuna. You cannot do that because he already gave Paspatastra to him. He cannot give a counter boon to someone to defeat him. So that's what, I mean, we all know that, like one news thing and all those things. So he listed Jayadratha for that reason. So Krishna already saying that, he said that, like, he killed all these people. Dhritarashtra heard that Krishna saying that, like, already destroyed them, but he did not reassess his decision, his assumption, mainly based on strength of these two. And finally, Sanjaya says this. Someone we can read this. Sorry, I'm not reading the slokas. Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna, he says that, like, Yatra Partha Dhanuddharaha, Tasya Sri Vijaya Bhudya Dubhar Nitya Mama. Wherever there is Krishna, the master of all mystics, and wherever there is Arjuna, the supreme archer, there will also be certainly be opulence, victory, extraordinary power, and morality. This is my opinion. Here Sanjaya clearly said that, like, Pandavas are going to win. So it's very clear for him, but he did not reassess his assumption that, like, he is going to win the war or the battle. And then Vidura also says to him, advises him, return the share to Yudhishthira, whatever the legitimate share that you have to give it to him, give it to him. And also he says that, like, get rid of the offense for son of her son Duryodhana. Not only him, even Gandhari says same thing to him, to Dhritarashtra. When Draupadi was being disrobed, and in the assembly, she heard the sound, Draupadi crying that. And she asked Dhritarashtra that, like, what is happening? Well, in the assembly, he says that, like, this is what has happened. If this happens, what is the permission, what is the punishment you should give to the one who molests a woman? He should be either beheaded or thrown out of the kingdom. Then she asked, your son deserves that because she molested a woman in the assembly. He should be either beheaded or should be thrown out of the kingdom. But Dhritarashtra replies that, like, no, this is different. This is different from other things because of his attachment to him, all these things happen because of his attachment to his son. So finally, so what do you think about Dhritarashtra? Would we consider him fortunate
No.
or unfortunate?
Very unfortunate.
As he has got all these things, all the options were given to him, all his assumptions. But if you look at his history life, he is blessed with this is what I mean, like I wrote in my article. Dhritarashtra was blessed to see the partial truth of the Lord. So he was blind, he got an opportunity to see that. Not only that, he has got a good counselor like Vidura and Sanjaya. Not only that, he was son of Vasudeva. See all the pious things that he had. On top of that, he has got the counsel of Dronacharya, Krupacharya and Bhishma. Those are great personalities. On top of that, he was highly respected by Lord himself. They belong to Kuru dynasty. Kuru dynasty is a higher level compared to Yadu dynasty. Krishna always respected him all the time whenever he visits it. He has got all the options, all the positive things, but yet, because of one such thing, like attachment to his son, he missed all these opportunities. He's very fortunate, but he's unfortunate that like he missed all the opportunities that he had around because of that one attachment to his son. He would have given the legitimate share to the Pandavas. They're not asking for more than what they were supposed to get it. Because of attachment, his son, he was not able to reassess his assumption that he was going to win the war, and he paid for that. And what did Prabhupada say about Dhritarashtra? In his commentary to chapter 1, verse 2, Prabhupada says that like, he was not only materially blind, but he was also spiritually blind, devoid of spiritual vision. He did not have that. Therefore, he could not see the right from wrong, what should be done and what should not be done, ultimately leading to him losing everything. He lost everything. And then, so here, the interesting thing here is, he had everything and Bhishma Drona also destroyed. Krishna himself said that like, I destroyed them, but he did not revisit his assumption. And the next person we discuss is Duryodhana. Duryodhana is also kind of, he was in distress. And how did he approach? He approached Dronacharya. But he said that like, Drishtvartha Pandavanekam, Vidam Duryodhanastata, Acharya Muksangamya, Raja Vachanam Abraved. He approached his teacher. How did he go to him as a Raj, as a king? When you are approaching someone for something, at least for a suggestion, for guidance, of higher authority, you should go with humble way. So Krishna says in Gita chapter 4, verse 34. Tadvidi Paripashnena Seva. You should approach them in humble mode. There was no humble mode in his case. He went to the right person. Dronacharya is not an ordinary person. He went to him. He would ask him for suggestions. What to do? Are we going to win the war? What are your thoughts on this? Do you want to move forward or not? Because there was still a scope to call out the war. He didn't do that. He just went to him and instructed him to do like this. Not only that, in next verse, he sarcastically talks about him. Next verse. Paschaitami Pandaputranam, Acharam Haitam Shanam, Vidam Drupada Putrena, Tavasishyena Dhimat. Sarcastically saying, see the army arranged by your son, by your disciple. He didn't say Drishtadumna. Drishtadumna was the army in charge for the Pandavas. He did not say that. He sarcastically says that like, Vyudam, Drupada Putrena, Tavasishyana, your disciple. Drishtadumna was born to kill Dronacharya. You all might be knowing the past and the reason behind that. See, we think that like Dronacharya, it comes to Ekalavya's story. There is a black mark. He is saying that like he has a thumb from Ekalavya as his Guru Dashina. And we all criticize, most of the people criticize Dronacharya for that. If he is worried about that, he knew that like Drishtadumna was born to kill him. But yet he took him as his disciple. He didn't say no to that. That is the character of Dronacharya. There is a different reason. Why did he ask thumb as a Guru Dashina from Ekalavya? I can share that in the group if you want it later. He's such a great personality. See, he approached him. He didn't ask for anything else. He approached him as a king, instructed him and insulted him indirectly, saying that like, Drupada Putri and Tavasishyana, they will see the army arranged by your disciple. And then he says that like, he suspected that like his army would be annihilated. He himself saying that sometimes, maybe our inner consciousness tells that like what the assumption, what you are making, they are not right. Maybe you are moving forward with that. Our inner consciousness tells that like, no, this is not right. We are not going to make this, or we are not going to win this. That's what we see it here. When Duryodhana says that like in this verse, Gita 1.9, Taksha Jivita, he says that like, he prepared to lay down all the people on his side for his sake. Saying that like, they prepared to lay down their lives for my sake, that's what he's saying. Indirectly saying that like, all are going to be killed. That was his assumption. Like, that was his expectation or the outcome of that. That was his guess. All people are going to be killed. He knows that like, the people who assembled there on his side are going to be killed, but he did not visit his assumption. Not like, I'm going to win the battle. And finally, he described the strength of his army. Aparyatmam tadasmakam balam bhishmavirashitam. My strength, my army is protected by Bhishma, is stronger than the army protected by Bhishma, protected by Bhima on the other side. Acharyas give two definitions for this word aparyatmam. One of the translations for this one is immeasurable. That's what Prabhupada writes in his purport. Whereas Vishwanath Chakravarti says that like aparyatmam means our strength is immeasurable or our strength is insufficient. There is another meaning for that one. Insufficient means that like it is not sufficient enough to defeat the opposite party. He knows that, but he did not revisit his assumptions. And we can read this. When the first meaning is used, it was by Srila Prabhupada. We are perfectly protected by grandfather Bhishma. Bhishma became encouraged when he heard this meaning. Whereas Dronacharya got it in a different way. He took the second meaning of that. What is that means? Our strength is insufficient because of Bhishma's split loyalties. With Bhishma and Dronacharya, they are equal to both the Kauravas and Pandavas. And they are suspecting their loyalty because both are like their family members and they have affection for both of them. Once and they love Pandavas more than the Kauravas because they were being ill-treated and mistreated by them. And then it comes to that, Duryodhana assumed that the Kuru would win the battle for three reasons. Number one is the fighting strength of Bhishma and Drona. Because they have a boon. What was that? Like we all know that like they have got that like Ishamali. They won't be killed by anyone else unless they desire to be killed. So Bhishma has got that and Dronacharya, as long as he has boon in them, no one is going to kill them. Because of that, he relied on the strength of Bhishma and Drona. But Krishna said in Gita that like they were already destroyed by me. He did not revisit this assumption. And the most important thing what made him to move forward, to rely on them is this one. Both supported the heinous action by remaining silent when Draupadi was being disrobed. So both remained, he saw that like maybe they are supporting me, they are on my side, they are not on the Pandava side. Because of these three reasons, he assumed that like he is going to win the battle. He did not reassess assumptions due to his envy and animosity towards the Pandavas and Krishna. That is the main reason, not that like he is not aware of it. He is a great political diplomat. We all know that in the first chapter he describes all these things. But because of one reason, that is because he is envious of Pandavas and the envious of Krishna. Why he was envious of them? Because they are being glorified. Not more than that. So all his problems get from that one mistake that like he was envious of Pandavas and Krishna. Because of that, when he compared the army strength of both the parties, Kaurava's side and Pandava's side, but he did not even acknowledge the presence of Krishna on the battleground. He says, oh, like, how many are there in Pandava's side, Kaurava's side, including Upa-Pandava, sons of Draupadi, who are not even like, they are just teenagers, they are not great warriors at all. He acknowledges them as well, but he forgot to acknowledge Krishna, who was the sole cause of his defeat in the battleground. It is because of his envy. So Dhritarashtra was not able to revisit his assumption because of the attachment to his son, and Duryodhana was not able to revisit his assumption because he is envious of Pandavas and the Lord. When it comes to Arjuna, we see some similarity in the consciousness of Arjuna and Dhritarashtra. What is that? Like in the first few verses of Bhagavad Gita, you see some similarities. One thing in the first verse, Dhritarashtra says that like Mamaka Pandavacheva. He separates Pandavas from Kauravas, saying that like Mamakas and Pandavas, separates them. Similarly, Arjuna also says something. What he says is that like Dushta Buddhi or Durbudhi, Dhritarashtra Dushta Durbudhi, the evil-minded personality who came on that side. That was the conscious. There is some similarity. I don't say that they're the same. There separation was there between the two. Like, okay, they are Kauravas, they are Pandavas. The evil-minded people, they have come there to support Dhritarashtra. That was the consciousness of Arjuna. But when Krishna brought the chariot between these two great personalities, Dronacharya and Bhishma, there is change in his consciousness. It changed from Dushta Buddhi to Swajjanam. That was the consciousness of Arjuna. After seeing, he didn't even listen Gita, he didn't start even listen instructions from Krishna. When he saw them on their side, he considered them as Swajjanam, all my grandfathers, my family members, my grandchildren and friends and everybody. There is change in his consciousness. And then he gives a lot of reasons not to fight. And we all know that like Krishna, then he surrenders to Krishna. So I'm confused, I don't know what to do. Then he surrenders to Krishna. He made some assumptions before that, like this is what is going to happen. I'm going to kill all these people. There will be some traditions are going to be lost. Women are not going to be protected. He gave several reasons. All those were assumptions, but he was not able to. He did not know how to deal with them. Then he turned towards Krishna. Then we all know that like Krishna taught Gita and everything. Finally, what he says that like Nastav Mohan Smriti Labdha, all my illusions are gone, all his doubts are clarified. Then I will say, Karishe Vachanam Tava, I am prepared to act according to your instructions. That's what Arjuna says. See the transformation in that. There was no change in Arjuna before and after. Like, I mean, it is duty-wise. Like he came there to fight, and even after listening Gita also did same thing. But the difference was change in his consciousness. He said that I am doing it for Krishna. And then so assumptions on our character. So when we analyze Dhritarashtra, Duryodhana, Arjuna assumptions, it becomes obvious which of them was materially driven and which one spiritually purified. All three had assumptions. They're different, but all had some assumptions. They approached the great personalities, but Dhritarashtra and Duryodhana, they did not revisit, they did not reassess their assumptions, whereas Arjuna reassessed it and then they got them purified. That is something about that. Then, when it comes to Arjuna, Arjuna was very much concerned about the consequences of the war and was ready to quit the battlefield for the welfare of the people. His mood reflects this compassion for everyone, a glorious quality of a devotee. That's how a devotee feels. Devotee is a para dukkha dukhi, not like other people. There are like three kinds of people: para sukha dukhi. If someone is happy, we don't really tolerate it. If someone is bad, like para dukkha sukhi, someone is feeling really bad, we feel happy for that. Devotee is not like para dukkha dukhi. Someone is really feeling bad, he feels bad for them. And he tries to do something for that. That was the mood of Arjuna. Someone who acts in the mode of goodness is more likely to make decisions that are beneficial to society. So he was in the mode of goodness, so he acted in the mode of goodness. So that helps us to make some decisions that are beneficial to society. If you are in the mode of ignorance, mode of passion, that are detrimental to society, that's what we hear from Dhritarashtra, that's what we see from Dhritarashtra's decisions and Duryodhana's one. How to apply it to our life? We develop assumptions that aid us in making day-to-day decisions. So there's nothing wrong in that. Not every decision can be immediately verified by any authority. Not that like for a very simple thing, we have to go to authority or spiritual master or someone. How can I deal with this? Not every decision. If it is very critical, that is going to impact our spiritual life, we must approach them in a humble way and take their opinion on that. I would like to just give an example about the story of Azamila, or you might have heard this past time Bhagavatam. When you got disturbed by seeing seeing a prostitute, you would approach someone, spiritual master or someone. What should I do? I'm getting all these impure thoughts. I want to just live my life with the prostitute. What are your suggestions? He did not approach. That was a critical event, critical movement for him to approach someone to make a decision to correct his life. What I mean to say here is that like when you are in a very critical situation to make a decision, not able to take it, you have to approach authority, not for every decisions or even assumption that we make in our life. For those who base all their decisions on assumptions not verified by some authority, there is no certainty of that on that. Srila Prabhupada says that like devotee should not be speculative. We shouldn't speculate. We just have to clarify all our doubts by authorities. We should open ourselves to the strength of authority and considering our assumptions. And then when it comes to their setbacks and shortcomings are inevitable in life, despite all our efforts to avoid them. They are inevitable, they come and go. They should not disturb our spiritual life. However, our hard struggle in material existence will end when we act under the guidance of Guru, Sadhu and Shastra. And then we gradually become situated in pure spiritual consciousness. So Arjuna is the prime example of this. He assumed that fighting in the war was sinful, destructive and ruinous. However, he presented his assumption to the greatest authority, who steered him back onto the path of truth. Under Krishna's guidance, Arjuna was able to purify his consciousness and actions. When it comes to that, in life it can be necessary to make assumptions based on the knowledge we have available at the time. This can be true for both spiritual and material decisions. However, our assumptions must be in line with deep understanding of Krishna's instructions in the Bhagavad Gita. I must align with that. Where possible, we should always consider our assumptions under the guidance of Guru, Sadhu and Shastra. This will help elevate our consciousness away from speculative towards living a life of truth. Summary is that like the firmer our faith in Krishna is, the sharper will be our realizations that everything in our life is designed for our spiritual progress. If we have this kind of things, our assumptions no longer they become assumptions, they become realizations. So we act based on that. So if we sincerely try to make decisions based on Krishna's teachings given in Gita, and Krishna and his devotees will surely help us to navigate our lives, to go back to him, back to Godhead through these waves of assumptions, because they no longer become assumptions, they turn into realizations. And I wrote 2 articles on this. One was published in Dadawas.com, Assumptions Ahead and Revisited. Another one published in Back to Godhead magazine, The Need for Spiritually Informed Assumptions. It was published in last year. Further represented is from these 2 articles that I wrote. So any questions, comments, feedback?
Guru, I have a question.
So you kind of mentioned about, how we should validate our assumptions by approaching humbly a spiritual master, and it could be a Diksha Guru, and if it's not available, maybe a Siksha Gurus. And Prabhu, in my limited experience, I've seen that sometimes we approach more than one person because maybe we don't have complete faith in that, or maybe we are trying to hear something different,
Yes,
or just getting a second opinion or a third opinion. And sometimes the advice that we get from different people is also not synchronous, right? So how should we approach that, Prabhu? So when different people are giving us different options or
Yes, Prabhu, yeah. So, one sense that is true. Most of the times, when you have these assumptions, I'm not talking about anything. In general, like, we would like to hear from the one what we want to hear. I'm talking in general, I'm not talking about that. Feedback from a devotee. If you don't like that, that even though that is true, since we did not want to hear that one, we go to some other person like that. But to answer to your question, actually, like, it depends on the authority of the person, Prabhu. So like how well, like authoritative, in the sense not by the position in terms of scriptural knowledge. Yeah, we can approach, if he's, let us say like in my case, if I hear in doubts, I go to whoever my counselor is, and I trust him because I go by whatever he says. So I go, sometimes probably whatever he says that I don't like it, but I seek more clarification on that. As I said, like if you approach different people, depending upon their realizations, upon their understanding, they give different answers to us. But our decision conclusion should be like, how close are they to reality? Based on that, we can take a step and move forward with the problem. And my answer to the question.
Very nice. Thank you. Thank you.
So, this verse, Bhagavad Gita 4:17, 4:10, sorry, the Tadvidi Pranibhasha.
434.
4:34, sorry. So, in that, what does Tattvadarshi actually mean? Is it someone?
Tattvadarshi, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so, is it someone, like you, in your talk you mentioned the Acharyas
Yeah.
are Tattvadarshi, they have seen the truth. We don't have access to our acharyas directly. We do have access through knowledge. So, like, when we have to approach someone with assumptions, so we have to understand that we must approach in that mood you mentioned.
Yeah.
So, in that case, how do we understand, like, they are Tattvadarshi? Like, Tattvadarshi,
Yes.
that they have seen the truth.
Yeah.
What is the meaning of like that? Like, is it like just like seeing Krishna, or is it like they have realization.
Yeah, yes, for realization is true. I heard Acharya saying that like they carry Vrindavan in their heart. A pure devotee, Prabhupada, he carries Vrindavan in his heart wherever he goes. And I heard Acharya saying that like when they are giving a talk, Vaisheshik Prabhu and others, they're saying that like when Acharya is giving a talk, they don't really read Bhagavatam and give that to us. That Leela manifests in their heart. That's what I heard some Acharya saying that. So they are the Tattva, they are seeing it. When let us say like that, I'm go over the Leela, that Leela manifests in their heart. They don't read the Bhagavatam like, they don't need slide presentation like this. They're just spontaneous if you have something to give it. Because everything they're carrying Vrindavan in their heart, all the Leelas are manifesting in their heart. So they are really seeing it. So that means that Tattva means that they really seeing everything in their heart. They give the right answers to like Krishna, how he gave answers to Arjuna. But once they give it, they have the free will. He didn't ask Arjuna like, he gave the option to him whether you want to fight it or not. He gave everything to you. So it's up to our free will how we take it.
And when we approach someone,
Yeah.
who is more advanced than us,
That's what
then in that case, how do we understand like they are Tattvadarshi? That is why we approach them because, or is
Yeah.
it just because they are more advanced than us?
I mean, like, yeah, Prabhupada set some standards like how a guru should be like. That means he's not after fame or after money, those kind of things. How they are living their life. Are they living by what they are saying? I mean, it's very easy. If I may be saying all these things here, once I go out, I may be having a totally different life. But you have to see that when you are approaching someone, I mean, like, that's how we choose our spiritual masters, like how they are. But there are some standards, some are given in the scriptures, like it shouldn't be after the fame, after money, and after this kind of thing. You have to see all these qualities in them. If they have all the qualities, yes, they are Tattva-darshanas. They are seeing the Leelas or the pastimes in their heart.
Also, that means also it's like a function of like how much faith do they have in. So they are walking the talk.
Yes,
basically.
that's what I mean, yeah.
It's only possible when you are convinced about the past.
Yes,
So
yeah.
hence you can take the decision. Okay.
Yeah.
So, Brajnath, then I can go.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Today I'm trying to understand on what basis we should make the assumptions, spiritually and materially. Are there any parameter?
No, it's not, there is no parameter. Prabhu. So everything what we, let us say even to go to war, everything like it's an assumption. There is no basis for assumption.
Yeah, Dhritarashtra also made some assumptions.
True?
Dhritarashtra,
Yeah.
he also made some assumptions and was quite wrong
Yeah.
decisions he made based on his assumptions.
Yes.
So how can I know that whatever I'm assuming, whether it's good or bad for me, spiritually and materially?
Yes, Prabhu. So one thing is that like, the answer is, there is no, I mean, like I said, like a guaranteed outcome from the assumptions, whether it is good or bad, depending upon how critical it is in your life. It may be materially or spiritually. I mean, is it going to disrupt your material life, or is it going to disrupt your spiritual life also? For example, I said about Azamila. So he didn't ask anyone else, he just got into that, and you know what happens after that. I'm just giving that example. So depending upon the situation, depending upon the intensity of the assumption that you are making, so you have to decide. Not that for every assumption you have to go to spiritual master, even for material thing or spiritual thing. If it is going to be very costly thing, it's going to impact your spiritual life or material life, then only you have to approach. Not for everything. Like, let's say I want to go home. I don't know, like, I might reach on time, I might not reach it. We assume it, I will be there by certain time, it might not happen. Those are all like, they are not going to impact most of my thing. It's like pick your battles for you. In our way, like if a doctor is there in a battleground, he has seen the people, they need treatment, but doctor has to pick the patients for the treatment depending upon the situation. There is nothing like right or wrong. Pick your battles based on situation.
Thank you.
Yes.
Prabhu, I have another question. I think you partially covered it. So this is around when we should approach our gurus, Shiksha or Diksha. So you're saying that, okay, when there is something of grave importance, right? And since sometimes we struggle with things like, okay, should I take up this job or not? Should I stay in the city or not? Because those decisions may have deep impact on our spiritual life, right? Should I marry somebody, or this person or that person, or not marry at all? Something like that, right? But, our spiritual masters, to be very honest, they're not always accessible.
Yes, Prabhu.
And also the people that we trust the most, they may not also be very accessible. So how do we solve this as an organization? Like, how do we go around with the inaccessibility of people that we need to approach?
Inaccessibility means that probably as you said, we may not have access to spiritual masters or someone, but we always have access to someone, let us say maybe the temple president to where you are going, or maybe some senior devotees in the particular temple. So other than that I cannot say, but thing is that something like I said that how to marry someone, how to say all those things. Most of the things we have to see that how that particular association or whatever that is going to impact our spiritual life. We have to do our sadhanas like chanting 16 rounds, doing all. As long as that is not going to impact our life, we can move forward with those. If you notice that it is going to impact our main sadhana, then probably we have to have a second opinion on that one.
That makes sense. Because that's the part I've struggled with, Prabhuji.
Yeah, even for job, I said do I have to accept job or not? Even I relocate from Colorado to here. I was thinking I had two opinions. Maybe Krishna did not like me, did not like my service. We have been doing service there. We have been serving CC Radha Govinda for almost 18 years. I don't know, maybe sometimes I thought maybe did I do any innovation, that's why he sent me here. I don't know that. When I asked some acharyas, Kutuba was there, he has a plan for you, don't worry about it, he will take it. So it's very hard to get a right answer to that. So accept everything as Krishna's will and move on, have 100% faith on him. So the acharyas say that we plan our future based on our present. Krishna plans our present for our future. So that's how we have to take it. Probably though I have been serving there for 18 years, I did not get a chance even to give a class. Most of the time, my time was in kitchen, doing good distribution, and serving the devotees and doing all that. I did not even lead a kirtan one time. That's why I often fumble here. This is my third class here, to be frank with you. Maybe this is the reason that maybe I need to improve in this area. That's why I sent you here. Though I write articles, I do everything, but most of the time we do a service in the pujari room and in the kitchen.
This is wonderful. This is wonderful, great example.
Yeah, I don't know. I have to see it like this. Well, maybe I did some events, or maybe he has planned for me.
Opportunity.
Opportunity to improve.
So I have one more question, but I'll let anybody else ask, and then I can ask my question. Does anybody else have any questions? Yes. Actually, I'll ask because it's easier. Then I can go back and forth, and then for Acharya Prabhu's already gotten enough exercise to it. Yeah. So Prabhu, so we've approached somebody with humility. Very practical question. We've approached somebody with humility, and they have given us something. We don't like that answer.
Yes,
so now what do we do? So now we are stuck. We are no, we have to accept this, or what should we do? Is taking a second opinion at that point offensive on our part, or is it no, we can. There is an option for us to do that. And I'll give a practical example for this. We approach our spiritual master or somebody like that and says, yeah, you should marry this person. And this happens, this is common. And then somehow we're we are not totally convinced because, they may not gel well with my culture or my family or this or whatever it is, right? Or to your case, no, I don't really think I should go from this city to that city where there's too many things that put roots out here and so on. So now what? Now I'm stuck with somebody's instructions almost.
Prabhuji, as I said, they just give instructions only they don't really the decision is up to us whether it is good or bad. But it depends on how much faith we have on the person who is giving instructions to us. For example, let us say spiritual master knows Prabhu. I give one example. When Radhanath Swami, he was there and he was instructing to all unity disciples meeting, you should work here. I mean, you should serve Sri Sri Radha Govinda. I mean, he was giving as a group, but there were some devotees. I mean, I don't know what it is. They have some visa issues. Maharaj said that like, to serve it, so I can just violate all the issues. I can do it. Maybe Maharaj might have heard. He said that like, as long as your stay is legal.
Oh.
He said that. I mean, one devotee. I mean, some devotees they are not like it happened in the Devotees Association in Denver. Maharaj was there. He gave the instruction to all of us like, do it, do this, do this. You all have to serve this temple. One person, Maharaj told me that like I need to serve here, instructed to serve the temple. I will stay here whether I have visa or not. He corrected, maybe he heard it. He corrected the saying that like, as long as you are legally eligible to stay here. They know that problem. I think they give that. There's so many examples like this. Even Prabhupada also, I heard Maharaj saying that like, one devotee, he was raising funds for Vrindavan temple, in Krishna Balaram Mandir in Vrindavan. And he was getting a lot of donations. And one night he was feeling that like, what would Prabhupada have done without me? I'm making this much donation and helping him out. He got a lot of money on that day. It was around 2 a.m. in the morning. Prabhupada sent his secretary to his room. Surprise, Prabhupada is calling you. Knocked on the door and Prabhupada asked him, what are you doing? 3 times he asked and he got the answer that like, I'm thinking wrong. What are you doing? Like, it's second time he asked, third time he asked, that like, because of me, if I'm not here, if I'm not doing this, what Prabhupada have done? Prabhupada checked his thought process. The spiritual masters know Prabhupada. I mean, if you take these examples, like, yeah, they know that like what is good and what is bad for us. Sometimes, as I said, it's not that easy to take it. But it's something like if you go to a doctor, like if you want to answer, if you get some answer that we don't like, we always go to second opinion. So, how to say? Say something like, do you want to see the things as they are or do you want to interpret them as we want? So, it's our choice how to answer that problem.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sorry, I mean, I don't know whether
Very nice. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So, I think got me thinking. So, do you think that assumptions are related to faith?
No, bro. They don't have, I mean, not really faith. I mean, if you refine them based on the faith and the source for that, yes, they are. But they are kind of daily thing like that we come across. There is no proof for assumptions.
I'm just thinking, so if I have some struggle that I'm going through, but I tend to like put my assumptions, if I want to get some advice and guidance, then I
Yeah.
think they may react in a certain way. The devotees or the superiors I'm putting the question to. So does that mean, I'm too attached to, my own attachments, or is it more about that I don't have faith that, I'll get some guidance through Krishna, through the devotees?
Sorry, bro, I didn't really quite get it.
So, my question is it a lack of faith? So when I'm projecting my assumptions
No.
on to someone,
No, it's not like a faith. You are projecting them for clarity. Other than that, they have no base, they have no proof. Just you are kind of accepting something that is not real, and you are presenting it to someone for clarity. The other person should not take that. I mean, like something like how to say, your inability to what to say that you should not misproject that your approach. He has to guide in the right way. I don't know whether I answered it or not.
yeah, sort of. Yeah, thank you. I'll talk to you later.
Here goes.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
I thought you were going to ask a question.
No, I was just like coming back.
Okay.
Any other questions? Yeah. Prabhu, sometimes we hear, people say that if something is not going right in their life, and I mean, every now and then I encounter somebody not being nice to another person, And then when I speak to the victim, they say, well, this is Krishna's plan for me, whatever Krishna wants, and that kind of a thing. And then I'm thinking that, is that an assumption that they're making? Or is it that Krishna wants them to act on something and that is the assumption that they should be making? And to your point, I think you've kind of answered it. The right option for them would be to really forget that mental speculation, like you said, and ask somebody. But the barrier is overcoming that mental speculation. Barrier is like approaching someone. So how, what advice would you give so that people are able to become vulnerable and say that, yes, I have some assumptions in my mind and this is for an important thing going on, and so I need to approach somebody?
Yes, probably. So the barriers are a couple of the things that we have. One of the things is that probably our ego. One of the barriers not to approach someone. Or probably there's so many barriers out there. But we have to understand that what is stopping us not to go to them. There will always two forces will be acting on us. One is kind of Maya and driving force and driving force. So what is dragging us not to drive towards that? So we have to identify that. Sometimes we may not be able to really identify what that is, but if you reveal heart to someone, they are likely to, identify that and might give you the right solution for that problem. I don't know whether I answered it or not.
It's processing. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Alright. Okay, I'm done. There you go.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Brajnath,
Thank you,
for
Prabhu.
enlightening us on the topic of assumptions and reassurance. So we'll express our gratitude by chanting Hare Krishna mantra. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Next week we are